Hello, and welcome to the Alchemists Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
I'm Emily.
And I'm KristaLyn. I
Trying to
wish I
make it
had
all
a
calming.
voice. Yeah. I will not be recording ASMR anytime soon, but it's
This
okay.
is your podcast experience.
Audible thanks you for enjoying this recording. Um, anyway. Hi, it's so good to see
Hi.
you guys. We are gearing up
We
for
can't see you. I'm just gonna. It's
yeah,
so
it's
good to be
really
talking to you guys.
energetic to see you. We see you. It's fine.
We see you.
Anyway,
We
yeah,
feel you.
we do. We're gearing up for Mercury retrograde. So get
Hmm.
ready for more trip ups in your language and communication. But also even some with this one, because Mercury is going to retrograde from Capricorn back into Sagittarius, some really foundational things that maybe help you look at the world a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I was talking to Krista about this a little bit beforehand, but we are in a hibernation period. It happens. And it's not just like I feel it's super strong personally and it makes me want to scream.
Mhm.
But also looking at collective, it is a collective thing. A lot of um people are doing this hibernation stuff, which doesn't mean inaction. And I just want to be really clear about that. You're still doing things, but it's like a prep period before something actually happens and things move forward and things actually change and shift, which we're going to, I think, hit probably by the middle of January-ish. But right now, we are fully ingrained ourselves in this. We are just it almost feels like busy work or just like doing nothing, or everything you're doing is just baby things that you're doing. Nothing is like moving forward in the way that you want to. You don't have the ideas that you want to have. Any like that's the energy we're sitting in. And this Mercury retrograde, I think, is going to it's really revolutionary within that space to be like,
Mhm.
hey, not only are you forced right now to sit with stuff, but also now we're going to see things in different ways. Now we're going to undo some stuff.
Yeah. Well, and what better time of year to be in hibernation anyway than when nature is
Yeah.
also in hibernation? And perhaps that's the real lesson here is like we are trying to go, 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 go all the time without rest. And nature in its cycles is like, hey, don't do that all the time. So we may experience, going too hard, burning out a little bit, and then having to change our philosophy on things a little bit, which
Mhm.
does not have to be a bad thing, but what forces you to realize it may feel annoying in the moment until you
Mhm.
have the realization. So that's one of the reasons, like, I don't want to sugarcoat stuff ever, but I also don't want you to be like, well, it's just going to be crap and horrible the entire time. It's not, it may not be the easiest thing. Mercury is moving forward right now and then it's going to take it back. So
Mhm.
it's not our favorite thing because we like progress. And when something feels slow in progress, we have a lot of societal beliefs that says that's bad. So I encourage a lot of belief work during Mercury
Mhm.
retrograde, which, by the way, Mercury retrograde begins on December 13th and will go until January 1st. So
Ooh, is a hell of a. We're going to be celebrating that new year with all of our beings.
the
Just so
new
stoked.
year, honestly, the New Year's Day and New Year's Eve especially, Jupiter and
Hmm.
Venus are going to be in mutual reception in term and sign. Plus Mercury is going to go direct, which puts almost all planets, Uranus will still be retrograde, but almost all planets, all personal planets at least, will be direct. So this is actually going to feel like a finally. Uranus at the end of January will also be direct, and we have a period of
Hmm.
all planets being direct, um,
Yeah,
especially through when we're going to be in Egypt, which is
it's
nice.
going to be so cool.
Yeah.
I do just want to say too, that is a lovely cue in and natural marketing thing for if you want to celebrate all the planets being direct, come hang out with us at our conference.
Yes, in January, when
Uh-huh.
Mercury and all of the traditional planets are absolutely direct, we will be celebrating a conference of spiritual connection and
Mm,
growth and community and responsibility and doing things the right way and feeling smart about it and all of
yeah.
those things. I'm
Honestly,
very
with
excited.
everything, yeah, with everything being direct, it's a perfect time to make connections. It's going to be
Mhm.
like actually your people there that you can connect with, that you can actually do something with those connections. So it's on purpose that we
Mhm.
have it during this
So we
time
did
for that.
elect this.
We did elect this, but honestly, if you're also just feeling this stuffiness that we're all kind of feeling right now, like nothing is moving, coming to the conference is a great way to breadcrumb yourself to be like, well, at least I'm doing something here. I know I'm at least doing this thing. And that is forward movement because everyone who goes is going to have a massively deep and important experience for them. Even if it's just fun and you enjoy it, it will be massively deep and important for you in its own way. All experiences will be unique. It's important. We're activating it with that energy on purpose. That is very, very intentional on our part. But that is a really great way to breadcrumb yourself through this season, which we've talked about breadcrumbing on here before. But if you don't know what that is, it's basically where it's something I do to make sure that I'm constantly feeling moving forward. And Krista, I know, does the same, where we plan something always a month out, 2 months out, 4 months out. We always have something planned for basically every month, so that we pull our energy through stuff. We pull our energy through stuff because it's hard to be a people. Being a people is really challenging. So if you want to use this conference as a way to breadcrumb yourself through this hibernation period and this Mercury retrograde where things feel sticky and not super fun, that is a perfect thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And I will tell you that I know it's middle of January, but it's Virginia January, so it's not that cold. So that's not something you have to worry about in the slightest for as far as weather goes.
Yeah, actually at the location.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be really cool. We really just want as many of the podcast listeners to come as possible. If you listen, yeah. And we may have something special for you if you listen to the podcast and you attend. So just going to hint at that. We'll talk about it more the closer that it gets. But we would really love you to come. It'd be amazing. Yeah. So
we have so many amazing things planned. It's so great.
Yeah, throwing some organic marketing there. So please go check it out, sacredspacesgathering.com. There is, I think we're almost out of VIP tickets, very, very close to being out of VIP tickets. And, but we do still have some general admission tickets there. So please go check that out. Yeah. Which general admission is going to be incredible. So don't think like, oh no, I missed out on VIP. It's not going to be as good. It's going to be amazing. I promise. But still, just so you know, if you've been thinking about VIP and you're a little tentative about it, don't wait. Running out of those. So just putting that out there. Cool. But yeah, this Mercury retrograde looks like communication technology, specifically in communication, like your actual words, that's what's gonna get messed with the most. Actually, I mean, travel always gets messed with a little bit, and I understand and acknowledge this, but it doesn't feel as travel heavy.
No, I think that's because we're dealing with some, for part of it. In fact, let me look at this, because I can. On the 23rd, Mercury will be going back into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about exploration. So up until the 23rd, you just want to make sure you've done a lot of detail-oriented stuff to make sure that your plans go well. Lay out the plan, follow it, be strategic. And if something does get tripped up, it's probably like check your pipes. Everybody check your pipes is what I would say, because Capricorn does things that's earthy, potentially underground, right? Mercury connections. So we want to check your pipes, make sure, because we're in pre-shadow already. So whatever the issue is, it probably exists currently and will make itself known during retrograde if it is not addressed. So if you have anything like that, check wiring on stuff even, but I would say plumbing.
Clean your dryer vents.
Yeah.
Clean your dryer vents.
Yep. Just the due diligent maintenance that you would do. Check your car, make sure that everything in the car is going well. If you haven't gotten an inspection and you're due for one, go ahead and get one. I need to get one.
I roll my eyes as my car. So the Jeep is fine, but our other car, my car specifically, hasn't been able to work in like 3 weeks. I just haven't had the time to take it in. Like it's I haven't had the time to schedule the towing in. It's that level of like something is not messed up with it. So you say that, I'm like, right, that thing I need to do. Completely. So my car sits just in the driveway, just we're fine. It's good. It's fine.
Yep, it's one of those things. And make sure that you're saying what you mean to say. And you don't have to say it perfectly the first time. It can be something where you journal it out first and then read the journal entry out loud to the person who needs to hear it or something like that. But as far as, we're saying travel, especially like holiday travel, which is something that people might be thinking about, especially right around the 23rd, which is my mother-in-law's birthday. Shout out to my mother-in-law. That's the day after my dad's birthday. Shout out to my dad. We both know what time of year it is for the Christmas and birthday seasons.
Christmas birthday season. Yep.
Yeah. This week it's my brother and my father-in-law. So one of those.
This week my son turns 13 and it's also my husband's and it's my dad's.
Yeah. Next week is sister-in-law and somebody else I already forgot. Oops, I don't know. I'll figure it out. So it's one of those times where, leave less up to chance. If you can plan ahead, go ahead and do that. And if you can give yourself if this goes wrong, here's how I'm going to adapt to it kind of thing. My neurodivergence is probably showing, but I have a plan B and C at least for things so that I don't have a meltdown or a freak out if something does go unaccording to plan or not according to plan. And if you want to borrow a feather from that cap, you're more than welcome to. I will be doing that. Like, I have backup plans and backup resources always ready to go. If I don't use them, great. If I do, they're there, and it's already sort of ready to slide in. So that might be helpful.
Yeah. I will say too, what I would take any issues you have with technology or any issues with communication, where things you have to do slower, take that as a sign that you do need to pause just then. Or maybe the universe is trying to get your attention about something, or maybe your guides are trying to get your attention about something. Like we talked about last week with Harmony of Echoes, like that could be very well taken as something you add into your repertoire of signs that you get from the universe. When this technology doesn't work, I know I need to pause and clear my energy, and then it'll work again. I mean, try to figure out a system, even in those moments, it's in real time, that you can help navigate that with, and it will help a lot.
If you give yourself even, I think especially with the nature of this, give yourself a bit of a ritual that you get to do every day so that even if something else doesn't go right, you had this to ground yourself and anchor yourself and set your own tone for the day, which I think Harmony of Echoes will help a lot with. But even if it's just like a prayer in the morning or lighting a candle and doing a planetary recitation like I do, certain invocations, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in this episode, giving yourself things that give you a foundation, and then the rest of your day is like, I've at least done this, will really help.
Yeah. Or even when you make your coffee, like just set an intention for every step of the process, and then when you go to drink it. Exactly. I mean, there's a million different things to do. Speaking of which, I've gotten this ping now 3 times. I'm going to light a candle while we launch into talking to this, because I've been told repeatedly that needs to happen. So we're doing it. I'm doing it. So if you guys hear the weird lighter clicky clicks, that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's a wooden wick candle, I think. Is that still the one I'm looking at?
This one is a wood. Yeah.
So they take a little bit of time, but I like how they sound like a campfire for a little while, which is always my favorite.
They have personality. It makes me happy. Okay, this one's working now. This one actually has crystals in it, like in this candle. As it's burnt down, you hit a different crystal on all these different layers. Now at the bottom, they're like, oh, collection. Pretty fun.
That's awesome. I love
they can't get them out of the wax. You know what I mean? They just gotta wait until they all burn down to the bottom, and then I gotta like dig them out with a spoon or something. I don't know. But so there's a bunch at the bottom now, though, which is pretty funny.
I like it. Well, that's
okay. So on that note, we wanted to talk a little bit about affirmations and how our understanding of affirmations has evolved and is needed to evolve when people who are maybe not understanding the evolution of how affirmations work are struggling with those affirmations right now, especially in this time of hibernation, but just much over the last 6 months, to be truthfully honest, more than anything else.
And this question, I want to give a shout out to Christy, my sister-in-law, whose birthday is going to be around the time of the airing of this episode. It was inspired by a question that Christy asked me, and I want to be able to give it a full response. So here you go. This one is for you. Yeah.
So, affirmations are when affirmations, I'm going to say hit it big, because it was about 5-6 years ago when affirmations like really hit it big.
Right around the time of The Secret. Remember The Secret, the book The Secret? Right around that time when everybody was like, oh my gosh, my thoughts create my reality. And so they started curating their thoughts in the form of affirmations, which scratches the surface of something really effective. But I think the problem is affirmations, they don't really hit it post 2020. It feels like one of those things where up until 2020, this was enough. And then 2020 was like, you will get deep into what you're doing. And now we're just like, I don't understand what an affirmation is supposed to do anymore, but I know I'm supposed to do them. So I think that's kind of where we're at energetically as a collective.
Yeah, I also think that, like, again, we've talked about this extensively. The vibration of our planet's lifting, like, and raising, and like we're moving towards magic being more real. The veil is basically gone. We're at the best Swiss cheese. So like everything is like truly, truly like elevating. And if you're still operating, and honestly, The Secret came out, I think, almost 10 years ago. So I'm
Mhm.
wrong. My
I was
timing
in
is wrong because,
college.
well, I'm thinking
It
about
came out over 10 years ago.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, Krista,
Me
we've worked
thinking
together
college was
for,
6 years ago.
right? I'm like, we've worked together since 2018,
Yeah.
right? So maybe, just a thought,
It's not old, it's experienced.
I appreciate you, and I'm so glad I've worked with you since 2018. Anyway,
Likewise.
it's older than that, but if you're still information from then, you're operating off of information that came out when the vibration of the planet was drastically different, and the amount of spiritual energy around was so much less. So we were grasping at how to train our thoughts, grasping at how to train our subconscious, and noticing that magic came from that. Now we know magic is real. We know we can make magic. We know we can connect with magic, and we've seen the evidence of it so deeply on so many different levels. Our affirmations being like, well, I'm going to just tell my brain to do this thing and then magic will come from that, doesn't work anymore because you know magic is real and there's a concreteness there. So you being like, I affirm this thing feels brittle and stale and it lacks the energy of like, but you already know the magic is there. Let's imbue this with the actual magic to make something else happen instead of trying to get to the result that you've already experienced. It's kind of like when, if you've ever like manifested something and you get so in the habit of manifesting it and then you've received that thing but you keep manifesting it anyway because you don't really let yourself acknowledge almost that you've received that thing.
Mhm.
For example, like if you are manifesting, you make a certain amount of money per month and then you get a promotion and you start making that amount of money per month, but you're afraid it's intangible, so you just keep manifesting it. And then a year down the line you're like, what am I doing? Why am I still manifesting this? Like, I need to up that. It's kind of that vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also want to clarify, I'm getting a ping about when we talk about the vibration of the planet,
Mm-hmm.
what that means in what we can experience tangibly is like society isn't where it was. We're not the same people we were. We're not the same social norms and structures and all the things. We have become more spiritual and more independently spiritual over the
Mm-hmm.
course of this period of time. So where affirmations was the, hey, there's a spirituality kind of thing that we might explore. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
got on board with that. And a lot of people learned from that. And now so many people have that enough of us are on that sort of step that we've reached a plateau when it comes to what affirmations can do.
Truly, we have. And that's a great way of putting it because it the other thing when we say the vibration of the planet's lifting too is it is that fact that more spiritual stuff is genuinely happening,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not a spiritually in line person. Like more people are talking about things like glitches in the matrix, which are coming up so often. Timeline shifting, which is coming up so often, mandala effects, things like that. And even things like going as far as like ghosts and aliens and fairies. Like those are things that people that are not necessarily spiritually aligned are talking about in an everyday thing because they're things that are just more around and readily there. Our
Mm-hmm.
culture has shifted, our brainwaves have shifted, our vibration has shifted, the access to magic we have has shifted. All of these things have shifted over. Um, and our understanding of how much magic words are has
Mm-hmm.
also shifted. I think that even like with the forgotten storytellers and like reading a book can heal your, which by the way is what I recommend doing during this hibernation period. Read books that
Mm-hmm.
feel nice. Escapism is okay in book form. It is actually a form of healing. Like do that. Anyway, beside the
Yeah.
point. But even that level of like we've now understand that on such a real level that we don't need to believe that words work just in an affirmation. We know words are magic. Scientifically, they've proven it. Magically, they've proven it. So it has been proven. So that's also why affirmations, though they are still a thing you can do, it's important to take them deeper if you want them to actually work better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like if you want to create more of that in the world, there is a book out there that is being born as we speak through Ninth House Publishing. So you can support Aspen Bassett and her Kickstarter. I believe it's Indiegogo,
Indiegogo.
right? Indiegogo, Aspen Bassett, the Crimson Clover, contribute to that, and you will be contributing to someone who is making a huge difference with some really cool themes about,
Mhm.
rectifying your past life with who you are now, healing a lot of societal issues, that kind of stuff. Books like that will continue to raise the vibration as we're talking about it.
Mhm.
People reading them is what's going to do that. So it's really cool to be able to get more of those out there. Another book I would recommend that does a really good job of that is actually So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. I can't get it out of my head right now. So I think it's really cool the way that it's cozy, it's adorable, but it also addresses like an ideal world and how it kind of makes all the things that we might feel like we're not smart enough to understand really within grasp. So I think in that way, it's like it educates and also encourages people to be like, no, you know enough. Don't let them fool you.
It's also just a beautiful celebration of queer love.
It's the best. Oh my gosh, the relationships are perfect. Friends and otherwise. Yeah.
It's just it's love in general. It's great. It's a good one. I do have a special edition of it somewhere.
Yeah, I have the brush pages. Yep.
Yep.
You showed them to me and I was like, getting that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, super stoked on it. But I will agree. That was a beautiful example of organic marketing, by the way. We're killing it on that during this episode.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's like,
but please go read
this thing that can actually help something. So I want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah, but please go check out Aspen stuff. You get some really awesome rewards for being a Kick or an Indiegogo backer. And we get to get this book into your hands quicker, and it's magical and healing and awesome. So please go help that out. If that feels aligned. We're so excited. Excited for you all to read it. It's really good. Really stoked on it. Yeah, what I would recommend with affirmations is they need to start being thought about as either like belief work, belief work, where you're doing healing work by using words and affirmations. We talk about this a lot of if you're trying to release a block or a limiting belief, you write the limiting belief first, and then you write what you want to replace it with underneath. In doing that, you're creating a magic system for your brain to use. So when that limiting belief comes up, you've now given it something else to think too. So when that comes up, you're like, oh, actually, I want to think this instead, and can start plugging that in. It is doing magic because it has an intention behind it. It is healing this thing. Same thing if you're trying to do affirmation work that is maybe not just belief work, but you're like, oh, I want this thing, or I'm manifesting this thing, or I'm affirming this thing. You need to start thinking about it as I am calling this thing in, I'm manifesting this thing in, or, I am altering, shifting energy around this. This is something I'm affirming is coming to me, and do magic along with it instead of just saying the thing.
Yeah. So the thing about affirmations, whether they are belief statements, belief work, or manifesting, they are like prayers, which are like incantations and invocations. And with those things, you got to feel it and believe it to be able to really allow it space in your life. So this is why affirmations have these two rules. They have to be said in the present tense, and they have to be said in an affirmative. So it's, a yes statement of some sort. I do have this instead of I don't, or I can't, or I won't, anything limiting. And they have to be present tense. This already exists. So, again, it's I am lovable. I am enough. It already exists. All I have to do is make space for it to show itself in reality, to manifest. Right. So when you're doing an affirmation, if you find the affirmation's not working, it's probably because it's a weak affirmation. It doesn't actually resonate with you. B, you could probably go deeper. There's probably something underneath that belief statement, that original affirmation, that could use more healing, or you're cutting yourself short. I honestly think a lot of the times when someone's using an affirmation, they're not doing the deeper acknowledgement of their own power. They're just saying an affirmation, here it is. Now I don't have to think about it anymore. And there's almost like a nervous fear that comes along with it. And then they actually are preventing it because they almost are energetically saying this thing, but I'm so afraid of getting it. I don't know what to do. And if you're afraid of it coming in, you got to ask yourself why. Then you're going to find another statement, which you can flip into the positive of the next thing that works, and give yourself a different affirmation that you can do in the meantime. You do a great job in when we explain this to forgotten storytellers, especially of kind of saying the next truest thing. Can you elaborate on that for people?
Absolutely. So oftentimes when doing limiting belief work, where you're trying to release a specific limiting belief or block, and you're trying to instill a new belief there, one you actually want to have, it is human nature, I think, for us to be like, oh, well, if the belief is I am unlovable, then the thing you want to replace it with is I am lovable, right? The opposite thing. However, the problem with that is sometimes you're not there to really being in a space where you're like, I can own that belief. I feel ready to own I am lovable. Maybe you're really struggling with that still. And so it feels inauthentic for you to be like, have this I am unlovable belief and then be like, You're lovable, because you're not really affirming it very deeply for yourself because it doesn't feel true, right? It feels very much like you're just faking it, and that's not super aligned. So what you want to do is actually think about the next truest thing, because that's the thing that you're going to be able to affirm with the most concrete positivity. So, for example, with the I am unlovable belief, it could be it is safe and possible to be lovable.
Mm-hmm.
It is safe for me to be loved. Something like that, that feels more authentic. So when you affirm it, it doesn't feel like you're affirming the opposite and you're trying to grab onto this thing that still feels way too big to bite. You're taking a bite that actually feels good. You can then grow into the next opposite thing. Like you can grow beyond that, but you're trying to get to a space where you feel safe and comfortable first, because that's the sweet spot when it comes to affirmations. If you're trying to overreach, then your human brain starts standing in the way and being like, no, you don't actually believe that. What are you doing? Which isn't helpful. It's not helpful to you and your affirmations. It's just going to be counterproductive. You're wasting a bunch of energy. The magic you're trying to call in isn't really going to be working, or the magic you're using isn't going to feel like it's working. So it's more of a, in order to get the magic to really work for you, find the belief that you're like, I can get behind that. I can right now say I do trust that thing. Like I can trust this belief. Even if I don't feel it just yet, even if I'm not 100% certain of it yet, I can get behind it. I can feel myself being there versus I definitely don't feel that yet, but sure, I guess I'll affirm it. Those are two different energies. And if you're in the I can see myself getting there, you will snowball into the other one
Mm-hmm.
after a while. So yeah, always search for that. Always search for that. And then as far as, and we say this all the time, if you're using your affirmations to manifest something, whether that is a feeling, whether that is a thing, whether that's an experience, whatever it is, the affirmations you have for that, you have to have play with them in two different ways. You have to have it, in my opinion, present tense with a deadline. It works the best. Through years and years of experimentation, I've done this. That present tense with a deadline works the best. You are not trying to get the thing by that deadline. You are trying to give your brain an understanding that it's coming by then so you can affirm it deeper. So that's the big thing to remember with the deadline is you're like, okay, but what happens if I don't get it by the deadline? That's not the point. The point is that you've given yourself a deadline so your brain knows it's a reality by this point and it will trust it a lot more. That is what you're actually doing with that. So present tense with a deadline, but then you got to feel it. If you're just saying your affirmations and you're like, I'm a this, I'm a this by next December, and that's it, you're not going to get anything out of it. It's just doing like maybe subconscious imprinting at most. Instead, you need to be like, okay, I own a new home by June 2024. And then you need to sit there when you say that. What does it feel like when you walk through that front door? What does it smell like in your new home? What is Christmas going to look like in that new home? What color are you going to paint your walls? Like, be there. That's the magic bit. That's the incantation bit. That is the adding energy to something to make it work piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's so important.
Yeah. And those are the reasons like affirmations work great. You got to have like more behind them now. And also, if you want to get more behind them, affirm things underneath your water. Water, that is you actually ingesting the affirmation. That is the simplest way. If you're like, I don't know, I don't feel it today. Like, I don't feel like I can really sit there and pull energy into it. Cool. Write it on a sticky note, put your water bottle on it, and drink that water. That's it. That is doing that magic. That is imbuing energy and then ingesting energy just by writing out the affirmation if you need something that's a little bit more tangible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing I'll do for manifestations that I'm tired of fixating on. I find a folk magic charm, which is how I found this house. But also if I'm trying to attract something to me that's less tangible, like a certain course that's aligned the most, I just posted something on TikTok the other day. I'll write it on a little note. I'll fold the note up 3 times because, the power of 3. And then I put it and I have a special bowl that's like, this is not my problem. This is for the universe to take care of. I will burn it with gratitude when it arrives into my life and I'll see what happens. And the thing that I actually did, I think I potentially found the thing in less than a week. The result came back to me because I was able to let it go also and believe enough that it will happen on its own time or in the right time or within the deadline, that I'm not fixating on it and limiting it. Which is another thing we got to be careful with affirmations is like, that's why at the end of them, you can also say, or better, like I am, an amazing singer or better, or I have a singing gig at this location or better. something like that, where you can then say, one of the things we learned in theta healing that I still use is in the highest and best way with grace and ease. So I am bringing in this, I learned this from my mentor in theta healing, but we would always end our theta healing with, this happens in the highest and best way. So I don't have to know exactly how it works because I'm limited to my own perception. With grace and ease, it's going to happen easy. It's going to happen smoothly, and I won't be suffering through it. That's another thing to really help.
I will say too, just on the note of theta, honestly, we should probably just do a theta healing episode. Because I
Yeah,
think
it's
it
been a
would
while
be,
since we've done like belief work and stuff, so it might be good
yeah.
to.
Well, and theta healing can do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
Also, it's
Mhm.
not something either of us fully use anymore. So I think we can talk about it in a detached way where it's like a wonderful introduction to a bunch of basic stuff. You can
Mhm.
go really far with their healing techniques if you want to, but you don't have to. So there's that. But a lot of the process of theta healing is going into the theta brainwave and then invoking things. That is truly what you're doing. And they have a very specific worded recipe for invoking things. Lots of stuff to memorize, to be totally honest, of exactly how to say things right, which is again, I think part of the reason both you and I are like,
Mhm.
no. There's multiple reasons, but that's a big one. But really wonderful foundational thing. And if you're drawn to theta healing, you should totally do it. And I mean that from the bottom of my soul. Please go do it. It's awesome. But anyway, with that theta healing thing, that is truly, it's an entire system of magic that is incredibly powerful. I have literally seen it heal people, like physically heal their wounds in front of my face, levels of powerful,
Mhm.
um based entirely on invocations and speaking in a certain brainwave and speaking in a certain way. And that is like, words do still have very deep power. You just have to add more magic behind them. So just
Mhm.
on that note too, you're right with that. The simple and ease is really important. It's safe and possible for this. It's in my highest and best for this thing. Like using statements like that is just really, really helpful for a whole myriad of reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for being here. Happy Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. On that
Celebrate.
note,
On that
give
note,
yourself the flexibility to figure out
mhm,
whatever words work best for you.
yes. And the solstice is coming up. We love the
Yeah.
solstice. We live for the solstice. Have fun with the solstice. I mean, I'm sure we're both going to create a bunch of content around that as
Mhm.
well. We'll probably address it briefly on the podcast. I don't know, depending upon
Mhm.
how our schedules work out. We have a lot of weird schedules for December. It's fine.
We have an interview coming up in December too that's going to be really, really cool. Yeah.
Yes, with someone that we both just adore and have worked
Yeah.
with before.
Yep.
And yeah, they're awesome. So really excited to bring you that. Please don't forget to go check out the stuff about the conference if that's something that feels aligned. We'd really love to have you there. It's coming really
Mhm.
soon. It's like a month and a half and away by the time you're listening to this podcast episode, and that
Yeah.
is wild. It's so cool. But we can't wait. So it's going to be really awesome. So yeah, thank you so much. We hope that you take all this Mercury energy and you go
Go
make some
make some
magic.
magic. It was good on
Maybe.
my end. I mean,
Okay.
just
I
hoping.
mean,